Hi everyone and welcome to another countdown video here on Theme Park Worldwide. In this video I'm going to be sharing with you all my top 10 best drop towers from all across the world. Now I absolutely love drop towers. In fact, they're one of my favourite ever theme park attractions. I really enjoy the overall experience of them. Looking at them from off-ride, joining the queue line, especially for the first time, that anticipation of what it's going to feel like, what are the forces going to be, what are the views going to be like. That's everything that I love about a drop tower. So in this video I'm going to share with you my 10 favourite ones from all across the world. So let's get started with the ride that comes in 10th place. It's Atmosphere, which is located at Liseberg in Sweden. Now Atmosphere opened in 2011 and stands at 381 feet. That's 116 meters. So it's a pretty tall ride. It was also manufactured by Intamin. Now what's quite interesting with this one, between 1990 and 2010, this ride was actually an observation tower. It took riders up slowly and brought them down slowly as well, but you got some absolutely fantastic views of Gothenburg, which is the city where Liseberg is located, and also as well of the park itself. But what they did for 2011 was transform the ride. Intamin came in and actually transformed it into a drop tower. So with this, it's got a very mysterious feel about it. You go into this large building. That's also where the station for Helix is located as well, which is their Mack roller coaster, what they've got at the park. So a pretty large building, but you actually step down into like the ground space of this big building, a bit of a basement, and in there it's got a very weird atmosphere. It's like a drone sound in the background, lots of cables hanging everywhere and flashing lights, and that's all part of it, building up the atmosphere to this ride. And that's reflected with the spelling of this as well, with it actually being atmosphere instead of atmosphere, all one word of course. And that's what this ride really does create with the theme. Now of course, once you're getting onto this, riders all sit in a circular sort of area all the way around the tower itself. So the actual gondola of course features all the seats around the tower, and with this it features an over-the-shoulder restraint system that comes down, and then you clip in of course with the seat belt as well. Means that your legs are dangling, you're looking up and you can just see the top of this humongous tower, and of course you then start to climb. Sirens are going off, there's actually mist that comes out from the side of the building as well, and it really builds up the atmosphere as you're climbing up to the top of this. Now once you get up to the top, you actually drop from 300 feet, and that's 90 meters. You hold there for quite a while where you get some absolutely stunning views. Now with this, it doesn't actually spin, so it's not like a gyro tower what would spin round and you get to see all angles. With this, it stays in the one position, but you get some absolutely fantastic views before then it releases and drops straight down with speeds of up to 68 miles an hour. But that's Atmosphere at Liseberg. It's not particularly very intense, and that's why it's only just made it into this list, but because of the sheer size of it and also the views that you get, it does make it into this list for me. But still a very impressive ride, but like I say, it's not particularly the most intense when it comes to the drops. Moving on then to 9th place, and it's the High Fall, which is located at Movie Park, Germany. Now this opened in 2002 and stands at 200 feet, that's 61 meters, and this was also manufactured by Intamin. Now you're going to see a bit of a theme following on with Intamin. They are the king of drop towers in my opinion, and you're going to really see that throughout this video. But yes, manufactured by Intamin. It's got a Wild West theme to it. In fact, most of the queue line is in buildings that are all themed around the Western theme, and then of course you make it to an outside station area where you load onto this ride. Now 30 people are actually standing for this drop tower, all in a circle around the base of the tower. Now yes, with this it is a stand-up drop tower, and that's what really makes this, because it adds to that extra fear, because of course you're standing up. Yes, you've got this comfortable over-the-shoulder restraint system, but your legs are fully dangling, and yeah, you know what really makes this is what happens when you you get a little bit further up as well. So of course, once you're all ready, you're dispatched and start rising up this humongous tower to 200 feet, 61 meters, and then the seats actually tilt forward slightly as well. So that'd be enough if it was sitting, but the fact you're actually standing up and you start to tilt forwards is absolutely fantastic. You get some great views as well. With this, it actually spins around as you're making your way up the tower as well, so you get lots of different views all across Movie Park Germany. But fantastic ride, and it's pretty forceful as well. Reach the top speed of 55 miles an hour as it drops that 61 meters. So it's a brilliant ride. The fact that you're standing up as well, it's certainly more intense than Atmosphere, even though it's nowhere near as tall. So there we go. Let's move on then to the ride that's in 8th place, and with this one, it's Lex Luthor Drop of Doom, which is located at Six Flags Magic Mountain over in the United States of America. Now, Lex Luthor opened in 2012 and stands at a very impressive 400 feet. That's 120 meters. And once again, it was manufactured by Intamin. Now, what is very interesting with this is that it's actually attached onto the side of the roller coaster structure for Superman Escape from Krypton, which is pretty impressive. There's actually 2 towers that are located on either side of Superman's main tower. So it's not freestanding, it's attached, of course, to the coaster structure, which is pretty impressive. Now, with this, 8 people are located in a row with this. It's got a very modern style Intamin restraint system, still the over-the-shoulder restraints, but a lot more open. You're not quite as blocked in with these, which I do like. You know, it is fantastic how these are designed, and that's the case with a lot of the newer Intamin drop towers. And of course, when you're ready, you start to be lifted up to the top of this tower to 400 feet before dropping, of course, 120 meters. I mean, that is crazy, isn't it? But it's the views of this that make it. And you think, blimey, we're dropping from that height, it's going to be really intense. I don't actually find a Lex Luthor to be that much of an intense drop tower. Considering when it opened, it was the tallest in the world, you kind of go on it expecting it to be a lot more forceful than what it is. But what makes it is the views that you get from this of absolutely beautiful California, looking out over all the hills and mountains in the background. It really is stunning, and you get some fantastic views of the other coasters as well. But it reaches 85 miles an hour as it's dropping down, and it's about a 5-second free fall. So you hold at the top for a little bit before coming down. But yeah, it is fantastic for the views. And don't get me wrong, you do feel the speed, but I kind of feel like it starts breaking a bit too early up the tower with this one for me. Into 7th place then now, and this is Zumanjaro Drop of Doom, which is located at Six Flags Great Adventure, also in the United States of America. Now, this opened in 2014. It stands at 415 feet, that's 126 meters tall, and it was also manufactured by Intamin. As of 2021, this is still actually the tallest drop tower anywhere in the world. And you'd think, again, with this, it's got to be the best, it's the tallest. But I tell you what, when it comes to drop towers, size really doesn't matter, because some of these smaller towers that feature further up in the list are a lot more intense, a lot more forceful. And with this, I actually found it to be quite disappointing with the force, but the views are fantastic, and it's actually built onto the front of Condor, the tallest roller coaster in the world, also manufactured by Intamin. And yeah, this is attached onto the side. You've got 3 different towers. Again, these seat 8 riders, and you've got that over-the-shoulder restraint system on there as well. With this, you start to climb up to the top, and then when you get up there, you get some absolutely incredible views all the way across the park from 415 feet, 126 meters. Before that 6-second free fall begins, and you come down the tower at 90 miles per hour. Because of the state law out there, Zumanjaro and Condor can't actually run at the same time, which is a bit of a nightmare capacity for both of these attractions. It does mean that, of course, one could be loaded whilst the coaster goes and vice versa, which isn't great. Can you imagine if they could both run at the same time? They don't have that issue over in California with Lex Luthor, but they do with Zumanjaro. Of course, all depends on the different laws in different states, but still a very impressive ride. Again, it's not particularly forceful as such, or I don't think so compared to some of the other towers, but the sheer height of it, it's the tallest drop tower in the world. It had to be in this list because of that, and the views from the top, and just that fear of being, like, you look up and you think, blimey, Condor's here, you know, and that's what really makes that drop tower for me. Moving on then, of course, down into 6th place, and it's Hurricane Condor, which is located at Portaventura World, which is in Spain. Now, Hurricane Condor opened in 2005, and it stands at 330 feet. That's 100 meters. Now, this is also manufactured by Intamin. See what I mean about the theme about Intamin being the king of drop towers? And with this, it actually features 5 different towers, 3 sit down, 2 stand up floorless. It means that when you're queuing up for this, you'd expect there to be 2 different queue lines, but that isn't the case with this. It's 1 queue line, and yeah, you get put wherever they say on this one, which also adds to the fear of it. It's got a Mexican theme. With this, it actually starts in this huge building, and that's where the first part of this drop tower begins. Of course, you start to climb up out of the building, which certainly adds to the experience. Now, of course, it features the over-the-shoulder restraints on the stand-up. It can be a little bit uncomfortable, especially if you're a man on the lower parts, if you know what I mean. Can be a little bit uncomfortable there, but you know what? It's worth it for the overall experience of this ride and rising up out of this tower. It really builds up the suspense with the Mexican theme and the audio around as it climbs to 283 feet. That's 86 meters. And then when you get up to the top, what's quite interesting is, fingers crossed if it's working correctly, it should tilt forward. Now, they don't always do this. It depends on the ride and how it's feeling, I think, to be honest, but yeah, they do tilt forward. Normally the more reliable ones for that are the stand-up towers. I know that one of the sit-down towers also can tilt forward as well. And you get some absolutely stunning views all across the park and the local area. You can see the sea over in the distance. Because Portaventura is kind of built on a hill, you get to see so far, and it feels actually a lot taller than what it is. I think it feels like one of the most open and exposed drop towers, but I love it because of the theme. The building's on the top of the tower as well, so it's kind of like this tower sort of expanded with this drop tower in the middle. Beautifully themed, definitely the best themed when it comes to your standard style Intamin drop tower. I don't think you'll find a better one that's got the theming like this, like Hurricane Condor. Of course, then you release after waiting at the top for a few seconds, straight down the tower, 86 meters, of course, to 71 miles an hour, which is the top speed before, of course, coming to the brakes. What I really like about Hurricane Condor is the brakes don't start too early with this, whereas some of these Intamin towers, they start way too high up. With Condor, don't get me wrong, they're still higher than what I would like, and compared to some others in the list, but the way that they do start, it doesn't detract too much from the overall ride experience, in my opinion. But like I say, with this ride, you know, the height of it, the views are what really makes it, and that's why it's in this list. So we're at the halfway point now, and in 5th place, it's Mystery Castle, which is located at Phantasialand in Germany. Now, Mystery Castle opened in 1998 and features a 213 foot tall, that's 65 meters, show building. It was also manufactured by Intamin, King of Drop Towers, and like I say, with this, none of this ride can be seen from outside. It's all due to the local residents and keeping them happy. This whole thing was built inside a tower. You'd think if you were just driving near the park that it was part of a real castle, a real turret, but it's not. Inside you've got this Intamin attraction, which is absolutely phenomenal with the theming. You go into this building, you go through these different scenes. There's a bit of a pre-show before you actually go into the main turret where this ride is located, and it's very impressive. 6 different drop towers, so you've got them positioned all the way around this room, which really adds to it. And 8 people can sit on each one of these towers. Now, it's got over the shoulder restraints, but are quite bulky. That's one of my negatives from this one, because it is one of the older Intamin drop towers, especially in this list. But what's special about this is that it's not just a drop tower. It can actually shoot upwards nearly as fast as it drops and back down. Honestly, that's what really makes this. It actually runs on 2 different cycles. Normally in the morning, it runs a shorter cycle, but it's more intense. And in the afternoon, it runs a longer cycle, but it's less intense. So it depends what you want. And of course, there's no real guarantee. It tends to change sometimes. I've had it vice versa before as well, which is interesting. But yeah, it's a fantastic drop tower that's in this building, and it's the whole mysterious element of it. When you're boarding it, you look up in this tower, and because they shine bright lights at you from just above the loading area, it creates a real mystery that you don't know how high this is going to be. It's the sound of it, it's the audio. It's got audio built into the back of the seat, so you really feel the goosebumps, so to speak, on your neck with the overall experience of this. It builds up an absolutely incredible atmosphere that I do really enjoy. But yeah, that's Mystery Castle. My one downfall for this ride was it would probably be higher up in my listings if the cycle was longer and more intense as well. I imagine that is due to the how complex the ride system is, but it would have been great if it always ran the longer cycle and was always more intense as well. But you can't really get the best of both worlds on Mystery Castle, but it is still a very impressive ride. Let's move on then into fourth place, and this is Apocalypse, which is located at Drayton Manor here in the United Kingdom. Now, I absolutely love Apocalypse, and you know what? This just goes to show that you don't necessarily need a ridiculous height to make a world-class drop tower, because I've been all around the world riding these things, and the one at Drayton Manor, one of my local parks, is still absolutely phenomenal. This opened in the year 2000. It stands at 177 feet, that's 54 meters. And this was also manufactured by Intamin. You can all like join in and chant along with this by now. Now it actually features 5 towers. However, it originally featured just the 4, and it was edited in 2002 when they actually added a 5th tower. So it's got 2 sit down, 2 stand up with floor, and it's also got the 5th dimension, which is the stand up without floor, which in my opinion is the best for the overall experience. But I feel that the most intense is actually either the sit down towers, because the brakes start a little bit lower, or also as well the stand up with floor. Once again, the brakes tend to start a little bit lower, and because of the floor, your feet are resting on something. It kind of feels even more strange to the experience, because normally on a drop tower, your feet are just dangling, like normally on sit down towers and gyro towers and all that sort of stuff. Whereas with this, because your legs are actually onto something, it kind of makes it feel a bit more intense in my opinion. But yeah, with this, you start to rise up, and then you actually, if you're on the stand-up towers, start to tilt forward, which really adds to the anticipation, because you tilt at the bottom of the tower before you climb up, which is fantastic. And then of course you make your way up to the top, 177 feet and 54 meters, before taking on a 4-second free fall after a short pause, of course, at the top, reaching a top speed of 50 miles an hour. Now, I firmly believe that Apocalypse, when it comes to these Intamin giant drops, as they're known officially, is one of the best. Like the overall pack a punch, these rides, and when they're coming back down, it just feels like you're not going to stop in time because of how low the brakes start on the tower, and that is the key to this for me. Again, the stand-up might be a little bit uncomfortable on the lower parts, much like Hurricane Condor, especially if you're a man, but you know what? It's still a fantastic overall experience that I really do enjoy. Into third place then now, and this is Falcons Fury, which is located at Busch Gardens, Tampa Bay in Florida in the United States of America. Now, Falcons Fury opened in 2014. It stands at 335 feet, that's 102 meters tall, and guess who it was manufactured by? Intamin, of course. Now with this, 32 riders, 4 per gondola, all sit around the tower. You pull down your over-the-shoulder restraints that are pretty bulky, but they need to be with what happens on this ride. Once you're dispatched, you start to climb up this tower, all the way up to 310 feet, 94 meters, and what actually happens when you get right at the top is you tilt forwards, and not just tilt forwards, full on 90 degrees, so you are facing the ground. When I first rode this, I thought, oh my God, this is crazy. And that's what makes it in my top 3 drop towers in the world. It might not be the most forceful in terms of the drop, but the feeling of just hanging there for a good few seconds at the top, can be up to 5 seconds you're holding there and looking straight down, is terrifying. Like, I absolutely love that feeling of that ride, and it is fantastic. So for me, Falcons Fury is definitely one of the best drop towers out there in the world. When I first rode it, I thought, you know what, this is incredible, and it still sits there in my top 3 to this day. But yeah, the overall feel of this, dropping that 94 meters, 310 feet, and then it actually swings you out, which is probably the most intense part of the ride, because you're in that 90-degree position. Of course, it can't fully brake like that. So as it's starting to brake, it swings you out, which is absolutely fascinating. The designing that Intamin did for that is absolutely incredible. But that's Falcons Fury at Busch Gardens that I absolutely love. Right then, so we're down to the final two, and in second place, it's the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, and also just Tower of Terror if we're going by Tokyo Disney Sea terms. Now, there's actually 3 versions of this ride around the world. There used to be 4, but that was rethemed to Guardians of the Galaxy. But Tower of Terror is one of the most absolutely amazing drop ride experiences you'll ever have. Whichever version you're on, whether you're at Hollywood Studios, the original that opened in 1994 in Florida at Walt Disney World, you could be on the version at Paris, which is absolutely fantastic and had an updated storyline recently, or over at Tokyo Disney Sea, where it's not based on the Twilight Zone, but it's still an absolutely fantastic ride. The building is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen, but the ride system itself doesn't quite deliver as much as the others, and especially the original in Florida. One of the main reasons with that, the version in Japan actually has a seatbelt over you here, whereas the others just have a little seatbelt around your waist. So I'm basing this on the original version of the ride, 1994 at Disney's Hollywood Studios. So with this, quite interesting, it was actually manufactured by Otis, who are an elevator company. If you've been in lots of different lifts, you'll notice to say Otis on there. Yeah, that company developed this along with Walt Disney Imagineering. 21 riders fit into this elevator, which is absolutely fantastic. The overall suspense that this ride creates, that you head through a pre-show, which is a library, you then go into a maintenance area, followed by actually boarding onto the attraction, into a corridor scene, before moving into the 5th dimension, where you move forward and into this extra scene that none of the other versions of this ride have, and then you actually move into the drop shaft itself. Now, what's really interesting with this is you've only got a little seatbelt on around you, so the amount of airtime you get on this is absolutely crazy, and the fact that it doesn't just go up then drops you down once. Oh no, it takes you up then down, halfway then back down again. The ride system on this is incredible. It's got lots of differences depending on when you ride it as well, and honestly that's just what really adds to it. And the version in Paris as well has done this random drop sequence in, and that's even more crazy, not knowing what's going to happen when. But the original version of the ride, because of the extra 5th dimension scene, is fantastic. It's definitely the most superior, even though it's the original and the oldest. But normally things get better, don't they, when they build new versions? But I think with Tower of Terror, it's still the original that is absolutely fantastic and the best. But what's quite interesting is it's not actually that tall of a ride system inside. It's only 130 feet. That's 40 meters that you drop. You kind of expect it to be a lot more when you look at it from the outside, but you've got to bear in mind, because of how the mechanism works on Tower of Terror, that's all kind of located above and below the ride, so you don't really drop up to the full height of the building, even though it kind of feels a lot higher when you're looking at it, and also when you're on the ride because of special effects and audio. But there we go, we've made it to my top spot. What is my favorite drop tower out there in the world? And for this one, we're going over to Sweden, and this is Icross, which is located at Grönalund, and this thing is absolutely incredible. It opened in 2017. It stands at 311 feet, that's 95 meters, and guess what? It was also manufactured by Intamin. 9 of these drop towers out of the 10 have been manufactured by Intamin, and 1 by a lift company, don't forget that. But yeah, it just goes to show that, in my opinion, Intamin are the kings of drop towers. They really are. Now, with this attraction, there's 2 towers located on each side of this tower, of course, that it lifts up. And with this, 8 riders can be seated on each one. It's got the over-the-shoulder restraint system, pretty bulky, the same style as Falcons Fury. But with this, it takes you all the way up to the top, and you get some absolutely incredible views. Because of where the park's located in Stockholm, the views are absolutely stunning. All of the water, the rest of the amusement park that's very compact. When you're up there at the top, the views are incredible, and it would be great if it was just a normal drop tower. But again, much like Falcons Fury, this tilts you to 90 degrees, so you are facing the floor, and you look at that view and you think this is absolutely terrifying. This isn't one that to go on if you're scared of drop towers, scared of heights. This isn't one that you want to be going on. because you really feel the height, even more than Falcons Fury. And I think that's because you're located in this small amusement park in the middle of a city with water all around as well. It just makes it feel a lot higher than Falcons Fury, even though you're only actually dropping a few feet more than Falcons Fury. Just the actual overall height of it and the position of it is what really makes Icross. Now, with this, once you've climbed up to 311 feet, 95 meters, once again, you tilt forward, that you're facing the ground, you held for a few seconds, and then you drop down before the gondolas swing forwards and back out into the standard position. But what an incredible ride, and it's the position of that that really makes it for me as well. It also feels a lot more forceful than Falcons Fury, in my opinion. This, of course, opened a few years later, so I imagine Intamin had time to kind of work on the ride system and develop it more. But there you go, absolutely stunning, and in my opinion, that's the best drop tower out there. But there we go, that's my top 10 drop towers. As always, I really want to know your favourites down below in the video comments. I also want to know if maybe you're not keen on drop towers. I know out of all the rides that you go on at theme parks, drop towers seem to be the most controversial one for people saying, you know, oh, I'll go on any roller coaster, but put me on a drop tower and I just can't do it. So let me know your thoughts. I'd be really interested to know if you have got a bit of a fear of drop towers. Then yeah, I'd like to know kind of, you know, why you've got that fear. What don't you enjoy so much about them compared to a coaster? I would really be interested to know that one, because I don't have a fear of them. Like I say, I really enjoy drop towers, but I know a lot of people do. Charlotte's not particularly keen on them. She's got better in recent years, but I'd just be fascinated to know more about why you don't particularly enjoy drop towers. But if you do love them, let me know your top 10 down below. As always, there's new videos every single day to enjoy here on Theme Park Worldwide, and also lots of other videos in our top 10 countdown series as well. So thanks for joining me, Sean Sandbrook, and that leaves me with one final thing to say. Get out there and keep on riding. See you in the next video.